Welcome to this episode of Rewind a Closer Look, and today we're diving into one of the strangest sci-fi films I have ever watched. Forget sleek ships and laser-blasting aliens, Russia's 1986 cult classic Kin-Dza-Dza drops two ordinary guys into a dusty cosmic nightmare where logic takes a vacation and the rules of society feel like capitalism, communism, and a migraine fused into one. It's weird, it's smart, it's way too long, and I'm dragging you right into the madness with me. So buckle up. Part 1 starts now, and trust me, it only gets stranger from here. Our story kicks off with Vlad, played by Stanislav Lyubshin, a great actor, but let's be honest, unless you're deep into Soviet cinema, you probably don't recognize him. Here, he's just an ordinary guy sent out on the most dangerous mission imaginable, grabbing groceries. On the way, he crosses paths with another random stranger, played by Levan Gabriadze, also someone you probably don't know unless you've memorized 1980s Georgian filmographies. The two of them run into a barefoot homeless man ranting on the sidewalk. He insists he's not from Earth, that he needs to get back to his home planet, but he can't unless someone tells him the planet number of wherever they're standing. Vlad and the stranger humor him, partly out of kindness and partly because this feels like one of those don't make eye contact or he'll follow you home situations. The man shows Vlad a strange device and urges him to press the button. Vlad, trying to be polite and wrap this encounter up, taps it himself and instantly teleports both of them to a scorching desert on another world. As the two suddenly teleported strangers start trudging across the desert, they try making awkward small talk. The kind you do when you've known someone for 6 minutes and have already shared a traumatic interdimensional kidnapping. They eventually stopped for a break, plopping down like two guys who definitely were not dressed for a surprise survival trek. While they're chatting, something catches their eye in the distance. It's flying low, it's wobbling slightly, and from far away it kind of looks like a helicopter. If a helicopter was drawn by a child who's never seen one but is pretty sure it has a spinny bit. Naturally, they start waving their arms like they're trying to get rescued or summon a taxi. Same energy. The craft zooms in way too fast, and that's when the duo realizes, nope, this is absolutely not a helicopter. This is the kind of object where you don't ask, what is that? You ask, should we run? Before they even decide, two men step out. And trying to describe what happens next is like trying to explain a fever dream to someone who's sober. The aliens start doing bizarre motions, weird stances, and gestures that look like interpretive dance mixed with someone trying to get Bluetooth to pair.
Ку! Человек. Ку! Ку.
Здравствуйте.
Ку!
Как странно. What?
The aliens rush over and our duo rattle off every language they can think of, Russian, English, French, German, like they're speedrunning Duolingo. Nothing works. The only consistent thing they say is "coo."
Do you speak English? Ку. Parle français? Ку.
Здрасте.
Do you speak English? Parle français? Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Ку.
Which may be a greeting or maybe an insult. Hard to tell. Desperate, the humans do what anyone would do in a crisis. They attempt bribery. They throw the short alien a coat and hat like they're dressing him up for winter in the hopes he'll give them a ride. The alien starts digging through their suitcase, finds a bottle of vinegar, takes a huge swig, immediately regrets every decision he's ever made, and hurls the bottle to the ground. And then, without a word, without a wave, without even a kubai, both aliens get back in their weird not helicopter, fire it up and fly away, leaving our two guys alone in the desert again, questioning their choices and possibly their sanity. As the two stand there watching the bizarre craft zip away, Vlad pulls out a cigarette like he's in a 70s French art film and tries lighting it with a match. He gets about 3 strikes in when suddenly the alien ship whips back around and comes barreling toward them again. For a second, the duo look at each other like, oh, maybe they felt ashamed they left us? Nope. The aliens tumble out. No fancy gestures, no cosmic dance battle, just sprinting straight at them while shouting Kin-Dza-Dza. They're pointing like they've identified an urgent threat, which turns out to be the match. They want it. Just the one. Confused but cooperative, the guy hands it over. The aliens examine it like it's some hyper-advanced alien artifact, then hit them with a decisive coup and demand the whole box. The humans, who have now given up on trying to understand anything that's happening, hand over the matches in a dazed, yeah, sure, whatever haze, and in return the aliens gesture for them to climb aboard the ship. Apparently, the intergalactic exchange rate is box of matches equals 1 ride in the UFO. Honestly, better deal than Uber. Now inside the craft, one of the aliens is poking at the matches, fumbling around with them in a way that raises exactly 0 clarity. And that's the real running gag. No one knows what anyone is doing, why they're doing it, or what the rules are. The humans, the aliens, everyone's operating on pure confusion and vibes. At this point, if someone claimed the ship only flies when everyone inside believes hard enough, it would honestly track with everything else happening. Inside the craft, everyone just sits there staring at each other in the world's most uncomfortable carpool. The two aliens keep repeating coup like it's the only word they downloaded before leaving their home planet. The humans are too exhausted and confused to do anything but nod politely. Eventually, the taller alien reaches into a storage compartment and pulls out a can. Then, without explanation, because explanation is clearly illegal in this universe, he hands the violinist a little bell from out of the can. It's the same kind of bell the tall alien has hanging from his nose, so apparently this is some kind of dress code situation. The violinist just shrugs, hangs the bell from his nose, and accepts his fate. Then the alien turns to Vlad. This time, the tall alien looks emotional, like genuinely misty-eyed, as he pleads with him to also wear the bell. And there's Vlad staring back like, is this a cultural ritual? Or am I being peer-pressured into joining the worst alien cosplay group of all time? This is the moment where every viewer collectively asks,
What?
Before things can get any weirder, which is impressive because the bar is already subterranean, the craft suddenly landed. Wherever they are now, it's probably not better. But at least no one is currently trying to accessorize their faces with barnyard ornaments. The craft door opens, and they're still absolutely in the middle of nowhere. Just miles of sand and a vibe that screams, side quest not found. The shorter alien hops out like this is totally normal and runs towards some strange metal object sticking out of the sand. He shouts a triumphant,
Cool.
and suddenly a hidden trap door swings open beneath the dunes, full Lost-style underground hatch reveal, and a bald guy pops his head out like he's been waiting for Amazon to deliver something. The shorter alien immediately starts showing the bald guy all the treasures he stole from the humans. The matches, the hat, the coat. He's presenting them like sacred relics, while the humans are sitting in the craft thinking, great, we've been mugged by space tourists. Then the short guy climbs down into the hatch, leaving everyone else in awkward silence. As the main duo and the tall alien wait, the sand suddenly erupts. Huge explosion, and the hatch bursts open again. The short alien reappears, dusty, dramatic, and shouting, Kin-Dza-Dza. Whatever that means, smash cut. They're all back in the craft, flying again. Except now the bald hatch alien has joined the party. Apparently, membership in this group is just whoever happens to be standing around. Once again, everyone sits there quietly, staring at each other like they're trapped in the world's strangest Uber. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, the aliens start speaking Russian. Just crisp, fluent Russian. And for a second, the humans think the little bells hanging from their noses might be translators. But nope, false hope. Turns out the aliens are telepathic, and it just took them a minute to decode human thoughts. Now that communication is finally possible, the aliens casually drop. They're on planet Pluk, Sector 215 Tentura, in the Kin-Dza-Dza galaxy. The humans sit there absorbing this, trying to process the fact that 10 minutes ago they were buying groceries and now they're in a space desert with bells dangling from their faces. The craft touches down again, and the moment the doors open, the bald alien sprints toward a nearby shack like he's late for his shift at Space Canadian Tire. While he's gone, the remaining two aliens turn to our bewildered duo and immediately start grilling them about Earth. Specifically how far it is, how to get there, and most importantly, whether they can get more matches, not just one box, not two. They want 7 boxes of matches as payment for a ride home. 7, the most random, aggressively specific number possible. It's like bargaining with an alien who's also a very strict scoutmaster. Then the shorter alien gets this conspiratorial tone and tells Vlad that if he hands over all the matches he has left, he can buy something called a gravitsapa for them. Is that cheap? Is that expensive? Is it a microwave? A weapon? A galactic air fryer? No clue. Apparently, matches are straight-up currency here, and we're just supposed to roll with it. The short alien explains that a telepaths, which is the technical term for their ship because why not, can only leave orbit if it has a gravitsapa installed. Oh, okay. Now it makes sense, you might think. Except no, it does not. Nothing is clear, and the human characters are right there with us, blinking silently while trying to pretend they understand alien economics. The taller guy jumps in to clarify, kind of, by explaining that with a gravitsapa, their telepaths can fly anywhere in the entire universe in 5 seconds. 5 seconds. That sounds like a huge upgrade, but also like the kind of sales pitch you hear right before something explodes. Vlad casually strikes a match to light a cigarette, and the aliens instantly freak out like he just lit a stick of dynamite in a fireworks factory. They snatch the match away and frantically demonstrate a different, approved way to light his smokes, because apparently matches are literal money now, and Vlad just tried to make it rain at the blackjack table without knowing it. Vlad and the violinist step out of the telepaths holding the precious matches, telling the aliens they'll hand them over once they get a confirmed ride to Earth. Finally, we get something that sort of resembles some exposition. From what I can piece together at this point, if you're not from this planet, you have to wear the nose bell. That's why the shorter alien doesn't need one, and that little remote the alien keeps aiming at everyone, it seems to detect who's local and who isn't, because the bell is actually a tag, a way to label someone as a patsack. Meanwhile, the aliens that don't wear the bell refer to themselves as Chatlanians. They head over into the shack to buy this mysterious MacGuffin, gravitsapa. The short alien, who we now learn is named UF, is basically giving Vlad a crash course in galactic street smarts. He tells him the gravitsapa only costs half a match. Is that a good deal? No idea. He warns Vlad not to show the seller all his matches, and not to even think about them. Because yes, as we learned earlier, psychic exists on this planet. We finally get the official confirmation. Kin-Dza's matches are the actual currency here. Forget gold, credits, or space rubles. This planet runs on strike anywhere economics. Throughout all this, Wef keeps referring to Vlad and the violinist as patsacks, and the violinist finally gets fed up enough to ask what that means. Nationality? Nope. Some kind of biological classification? Nope. Person from another planet? Nope. So much for my theory.
You are so stupid.
Am I?
Idiot!
The dudes are firing guesses like they're taking a pop quiz for a class they didn't know they were enrolled in. They finally ask, okay then, what is a patsack? UF just stares at them like it should be obvious and says, can't you tell? And honestly, no, they can't. I can't. You can't. Nobody can. It's the perfect encapsulation of this whole movie. Every answer just raises 3 new questions, and absolutely no one is doing anything to help. Things somehow now get sketchier. There's a massive vertical shaft in the center of the room, surrounded by a winding staircase that looks like it was designed by someone who hates knees. They descend step after step until they reach a young woman who says to them, "Yup, you guessed it, coup." She immediately points the remote at the group, scans them like airport security, and decides only Vlad is allowed to continue. UF warns him to bring the Kin-Dza-Dza back for inspection before he pays, because even on alien planets, you never trust a guy selling high-tech equipment out of a basement. Downstairs, Vlad finally meets the Scarface seller of the Kin-Dza-Dza. The device looks like a metallic Kinder egg that opens to reveal, something humming, possibly alive. It makes a noise that sounds like a fax machine being strangled. They close it back up, and Vlad insists his chitlin, UF, needs to inspect it first. They agree, and the bald guy from earlier takes the Kin-Dza-Dza to UF for approval. While they wait, Vlad tries to be productive and negotiates another deal, another half match in exchange for 2 bottles of water. The seller agrees, and the woman leaves to fetch it. Vlad asks about food, and the guy proudly announces he's got porridge. Vlad asks what kind, and the answer is delivered with zero irony: plastic. Because on planet Pluk, eating actual food is apparently optional. Vlad offers another full match for extra water and some of this plastic porridge, and the scar-faced guy enthusiastically agrees, then walks out. The door closes behind him. Everyone who was just in the room has now left. Vlad stands there alone, staring at the empty space where the alien shopkeeper used to be, and it hits him, and us, at the exact same time. Buddy, you just got ripped off. Back upstairs, while Vlad is busy getting scammed in the basement, UF and the violinist are having their own bizarre side quest. UF asks him if people on Earth can really get matches whenever they want. The violinist says yes, of course, like it's the most normal question in the world. UF, absolutely stunned by this level of luxury, immediately decides to make things weird. He pulls some random object from his pocket, something so gross the movie doesn't even identify it, and challenges the violinist to a spitting contest. If the violinist spits the object farther than UF, he'll get 1 chattel. Chattel is a secondary form of currency. The violinist declines instantly because, no. UF ups the offer, 3 chattels and a pair of yellow pants. Still no, because even for alien currency, that's not worth putting mystery pocket goo in your mouth. Desperate to get him to play, UF sweetens the deal again, blue pants. The violinist still doesn't budge. He doesn't know what the object is, but he knows he's not putting it anywhere near his face. UF finally gets annoyed, throws out something rude in the local language, and the violinist snaps, warning him to watch his words. And this is the moment things begin to click. The bells, the insults, the weird social dynamics. Yeah. The bell isn't some quirky accessory. It's absolutely a social caste marker. Vlad and the violinist aren't just tourists. They're officially labeled nobodies. Back downstairs, Vlad is still sitting alone in the world's saddest waiting room, staring at the door and hoping the seller comes back with the Kin-Dza-Dza, the water, and the gourmet plastic porridge. But after enough time passes to grow a beard, he decides he's been patient long enough. He opens the door the aliens exited through, and is immediately greeted by a tidal wave of sand pouring in like he just opened the exit hatch on Tatooine. Realizing something is very wrong, Vlad bolts back up the staircase, now rapidly filling with sand like the world's most hostile hourglass, and tells UF and the violinist that he's been ripped off. He explains that he gave the Scarface seller all the matches and that guy is definitely not coming back. OF panics, they all start shouting, and the 3 of them scramble upward as the entire shaft turns into a sand waterfall. Outside, things escalate instantly. A deep rumbling starts under the dunes, and UF suddenly throws himself flat onto the ground like he's bracing for impact. A huge rocket shoots out of the sand and blasts off into the sky. Vlad watches the plume of fire streak across the horizon and realizes, with grim clarity, that was probably Scarface heading off to live his best life, funded entirely by their last box of matches. UF and the tall alien, who we now know is called B, storm off dramatically, only to whirl back around and lay down their final offer. If Vlad and the violinist won't give them the one last match right now, then the price for being taken to Earth just went up, way up, to 7 entire matchbooks payable upon arrival. Smash cut to all 4 of them already flying together in the Pepelats. The aliens think they've pulled off the deal of the century. Vlad and the violinist are just sitting there like, cool, whatever, we have Costco. While they're flying, Vlad suddenly leans over to the violinist, who, up until this exact moment, we've only known as the violinist, and finally calls him by his actual name, Gedevan. And his first act as a newly named character, getting hit with the world's worst escape plan. Vlad whispers, "Let's tie these guys up and head north. Maybe the Mediterranean is just over there." He's still holding on to that last tiny shred of hope that this is all some bizarre dream and that a familiar coastline might be waiting just over the horizon.
So what's not happening?
B immediately shuts that down. "Are you crazy?" he snaps. "Pluk has no seas." He explains that every ocean on this planet was boiled down long ago and turned into LUTs, which is basically fuel. That's right. This planet literally converted all water into gasoline. Subtle commentary? Nah, this is capitalism with the safety rails ripped off. Then WEF hits them with an invoice from hell. Vlad and Gedevan now owe him 6,140 chattel for the food, the water, and the weird little contraption that Gedevan had been fiddling with earlier. The prices are fake, the economy is nonsense, and everyone's just pretending it makes sense. Vlad tells Gedevan to hand the contraption back, but now that he finally has a name, Gedevan also has principles. He refuses. Nobody back home will believe any of this unless they bring proof. So Vlad sighs and offers the only solution that fits this planet's crackpot logic. Fine, trade him the violin if you want it that much. Gedevan heads to the bathroom, because even on alien planets, sometimes you just need a minute, and discovers that every faucet and the toilet itself dispense exactly one thing: sand, no water, just straight-up desert pouring out of the fixtures. Meanwhile, back in the main cabin, WEF is giving Vlad a crash course on Pluk's completely deranged social hierarchy. He explains that everything here is based on your financial status, including your pants color. Then WEF drops the wildest rule yet: sitting is regulated. A patsak, the lowest class, is only allowed to sit after a Chatlanian. Upper class has already sat twice. Vlad immediately hits that frozen, thousand-yard stare of a man who is rethinking every assumption he's made since landing here. The rules make no sense, the hierarchy is confusing, and absolutely nothing on this planet follows any kind of logic. At this point, the only thing Vlad knows for sure is that he's wearing the wrong pants and sitting at the wrong time. Vlad starts yelling over into the bathroom, asking Gedevan if he wants some new pants, because at this point pants apparently decide your entire social worth. Before he gets an answer, UF casually mentions, "Oh, he's not in there." Vlad freezes. UF continues, totally straight-faced, "We jettisoned him to save fuel." Like they tossed out a lawn chair to lighten the load, not a whole human being. Vlad laughs nervously, assuming this is a joke, because surely
And don't call me Shirley.
they didn't eject the violinist turned Gedevan over the desert. Vlad snaps. He threatens to burn their very last Ketsi unless WEF and B turn the Pepelats around. And suddenly the aliens take him very seriously, because that one Ketsi is worth more on Pluk than gold, diamonds, and social stability combined. They immediately agree and pivot the ship around. They land back at the jettison point. The bathroom is there, but no Gedevan. Just more endless, miserable sand stretching to infinity. Vlad stands there in stunned silence, realizing his friend, who only just got a name, might be lost on an alien world made of dust and nightmare economics. Suddenly, another alien craft drops out of the sky and lands nearby. because apparently this desert is the busiest airport in the galaxy. UF immediately launches into his elaborate greeting routine again, arms waving, knees bending, full ceremonial choreography. B rushes to Vlad, whisper yelling for him to put on his sock, the bell, because the newcomer is definitely higher ranked on the cosmic caste ladder. Sure enough, the moment the new passenger steps out, UF and B start doing the coo chant on loop and hand over their chattel like kids giving their lunch money to the school bully. Every little ritual, every bow, every coo, it's all just ridiculous posturing to show who's above who. It's almost definitely satire, the movie's way of poking fun at capitalism's different wealth class systems. The newcomer then walks straight toward Vlad. Vlad fumbles the bell onto his nose and asks if he's seen Gedevan. Instead of answering, the guy demands that Vlad say, "Coo." Vlad gives him a half-hearted coo, the linguistic equivalent of fine, whatever. The stranger nods, pulls out a device, and demonstrates its power by effortlessly slicing a thick metal pipe clean in half. A pretty aggressive way of saying,
And you will respect my authority!
Before Vlad can react, the guy clocks him over the head with it and walks away like it's the most normal customer service interaction on Pluk. Vlad is left dazed, concussed, and learning the same lesson over and over. On this planet, politeness isn't optional, it's enforced with blunt force trauma. After the newcomer leaves, Vlad comes to, with a fresh dent in his skull courtesy of Mr. Pipe Cutter. Groggy and annoyed, he pulls out a cigarette, and without thinking, he strikes the last remaining Ketsi and lights up. The moment that flame touches the end of the cigarette, the audience collectively screams, but it's too late. That's it. The final Ketsi gone forever. UF and B watch this in silent horror. To them, Vlad hasn't just wasted a match, he's basically burned a briefcase full of cash, maybe 2 briefcases. Then, without a word, they toss Gedevan's violin case out of the pepalots, hop inside, and lift off, abandoning Vlad alone in the desert like someone who got kicked out of an Uber for spilling coffee on the seats. Vlad stands there for a moment, watching the pepalots fly away, realizing he is now matchless, friendless, and stranded on a planet powered by nonsense. So he does the only logical thing a man in his situation can do. He sits down, because honestly, same. After what feels like an eternity of sitting in the sand and contemplating every choice that led him to this stupid planet, Vlad hears someone yelling his name. The camera pans across the dunes, and there's Gedevan, alive, dusty, and screaming out of yet another random underground hatch. Because apparently this planet is 90% sand and 10% surprise trapdoors. Vlad rushes over, helps pull him out, and the two reunite like a couple of guys who have absolutely had enough of intergalactic tourism. Before they start walking, Vlad turns to Gedevan and calmly asks for his tsak, the nosebell he previously hated but now recognizes as essential survival gear. After getting smacked, robbed, scammed, emotionally wrecked, and abandoned, he finally admits the painful truth. On Pluk, you either wear the bell, or you get bonked on the head again. The two start trekking across the wasteland. They walk for a long time under the relentless Pluk sun until they finally stop and lean against some rocks, soaking up a sliver of shade. They're exhausted, thirsty, and done with this planet's nonsense. Then, in the distance, something appears. It's moving, but this time, not flying. It's driving. They wave their arms and shout until the approaching vehicle notices them. It screeches to a stop, and before they can get close, a woman's voice echoes across the sand, ordering them not to come any closer and demanding to know what they want. Vlad and Gedevan yell back that they need a ride to the center, the same destination UF and B had been taking them before the whole match-based betrayal situation. She fires back with her price, 3 chattels for the ride. That's a problem. They're broke. Officially, legally, cosmically broke. Desperate, they shout that they can work for the ride instead. Gedevan quickly volunteers Vlad as a carpenter who could build her a whole house. Vlad spins around like, "Excuse me?" So naturally, he retaliates. When the woman asks what Gedevan can do, Vlad yells back, he can play the violin. which is, of course, a complete lie. We already know Gedevan can't play a single note. He told Vlad earlier he was just transporting the violin for someone else. The mysterious woman doesn't hesitate. "Play!" she demands. Gedevan shouts back, panicked, "I can't play!" The woman immediately responds with the cosmic equivalent of "bye bitches," except in Pluk slang it comes out more like "later patsocks," and the engine revs like she means it. Vlad, scrambling, yells that he can play, and for some reason in this shot, Vlad absolutely looks like the dad from that dumb Beethoven dog movie.
Where's my dog?
The same bewildered, exhausted, "How did my life get this weird?" expression plastered on his face. Vlad starts to quietly pluck at the violin, barely audible over the wind. The woman immediately stops him and says, "Wait, let me turn on the sound." She flips a switch, and suddenly a massive speaker system blasts across the desert like an alien megachurch PA system. Now properly amplified, she orders him, "Play and sing." Vlad tries again. He scrapes the bow across the strings, producing a sound somewhere between a dying seagull and a haunted floorboard.
Как-то.
Мама, мама, что я буду делать?
And sings a few miserable notes, and then smash cut. They're on the woman's vehicle. And honestly, I'm not even going to attempt to describe this next scene. No words can do justice to the visuals. It's one of those scenes where the only proper narration is, "Nope, you're on your own. Just watch it."
Eku, 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 hey.
Eco, 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 eco,
Hey, hey. Нет. Прораб. Гляди. Ику, 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 ику. Ику, 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 ику.
Now riding aboard the woman's desert cart, and for some reason wearing newspaper hats, Vlad asks if she knows anyone who owns both a Gravitsapa and a Pepalots. He promises her and whoever helps them get to Earth a mountain of matches. She doesn't buy it for a second, so Vlad tells her to read his thoughts. That's when she gets confused, not because it's untrue, but because he's thinking honestly. And on a planet of telepaths, honesty is basically a foreign language. It's a neat, subtle world-building moment. Pluk is a place where you can't even think the truth without breaking a social rule. She pauses, recalibrates, and then casually warns them about another of Pluk's many lovely traditions. When a Patsik meets someone of higher status, they're required to step inside a little metal cage and sing on command as a show of submission. No questions, no negotiation. You hop in your humiliation booth and belt out a tune, or you risk serious trouble. It's pure social hierarchy theater. Pluk might have telepathy and space travel, but it still runs on public karaoke shame. They eventually come across a small camp in the desert, and the moment they approach, the lone occupant opens fire like he's defending Fort Knox instead of a tarp in a toolbox. He's clearly a higher-class Chatlanian because the second he realizes they're Patsocks, he barks out the standard command, "Into the cage. Sing." On Pluk, this isn't optional. It's the ritual humiliation every low-class citizen is expected to perform on demand. But Vlad, already over this planet's nonsense, refuses. Flat out. No singing, no cage, no intergalactic karaoke night. The man tries firing again, but his weapon jams, so he storms inside his shack to fix it. That's when the weird cart lady leans over to Vlad and Gedevan and urgently whispers that they all need to get out of here, right now. She tells them to hop off and give her cart a push to help it start moving. Of course, it's a trap. The moment they step off, she floors it and blasts away across the sand at Mach 2, leaving a full Looney Tunes dust trail behind her. When the high-class guy comes back outside and finds all of them gone, he absolutely loses it. He starts ranting in pure bureaucratic rage, shouting about how the sacred social order has been violated, how he's been disrespected by a patsack, and how he's going to report this catastrophic breach of etiquette to literally everyone. He goes from 0 to "I'm calling the manager of the universe" in under 10 seconds. We cut back to Vlad and Gedevan trudging across the wasteland, following the crazy cart lady's tire tracks like the world's saddest detectives. They eventually stumble upon their luggage scattered in the sand. She kept the perfume and ditched everything else. The guys exchange a typical woman joke, low-hanging fruit, but honestly, after everything they've been through, I'm not judging their humor standards. They gather up what little remains of their belongings before continuing on. Eventually, they stop and sit down, the desert stretching endlessly in every direction, and then the movie just shifts. Hard cut to what might be a dream, a hallucination, or an emotional time jump fueled by dehydration and cosmic stupidity. Gedevan is suddenly back in snowy Russia, still wearing his newspaper hat, talking with a woman who demands to know where he's been for so many years and why he stole the violin. He tells her everything: the desert, the aliens, the caste system, and shows her his souvenirs, the sock, the chattels, and a handful of sand and rocks from another planet. She calmly explains all of them away, grounding the madness in mundane logic, as if he's just some guy who wandered off during a midlife crisis and came home with junk. Her rational explanations fade into darkness and we cut to black. And that wraps up part 1 of this absolute fever dream known as Kin-Dza-Dza. We've got teleporting homeless guys, match-based capitalism, nose bells, humiliation cages, sand toilets, and more coups than my brain can process. And somehow, this is only the halfway point. My head hurts, my notes look like a conspiracy board, and I'm seriously considering switching to a match-based economy myself. Grab a drink, take a breather, maybe scream into the void for a minute, because part 2 somehow gets even stranger.
Цака день, быстро. Цака день. Перебьется. Ку! Ку! А день транклюкирует и тебя, и спичку. Ку!
What? Matt? Everything. What is going on? What is going